is or not, this is training of how to develop the mind to become a happy person. Do you get that out of it? And that's the process we're going through right now. How do I continue to go through my process so that I now have the capacity to orient myself towards helping others?
Kunin is it really helps you grounded and it helps be and takes away anxiety, fear. It's amazing to really, as a person, become more self, comfortable with yourself.
So that's what a householder yoga life is about. Is you're using the rajas of your life, the activity of your life, the stress of your life, the turbulence of your mind, and you're channeling it into more vitality, more consciousness, more love. That is the warrior way.
The combination of the intellectual capacity, the analytical capacity, the way Jai made a lot of sense. I don't like things out of the blue just because it says so. The teacher very amount from my perspective, and it resonated with me.
Your projection and your mental attitude creates the context for the stress of your life. The whole idea is moving beyond worry and fear. But that's not stuffing the worries and the fears that you have. It's develop the type of character, develop the type of service, type of that word take a lot of power. This immersion. of the nose gaze. Raise the mudra above the head. A few inches above the crown, the 10th gate. Now drink in the prosperity. Position. Drink in the prosperity, tip of the nose. Ask opportunities to flow to you. Hey, Satnam. Nice to see everybody. Thanks for coming. How you feeling? Cool. traveled today? Oh wow, everybody. How many of you in airplanes today? Okay, cool. So are you tired a little? We'll see. Well, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. I think we're gonna have a beautiful time together, and I have a sense that our efforts to get here, which I know it's a lot of effort to get here, to plan this, and to, for many of us, travel long distances and even short distances. Sometimes it's really difficult to make something like this happen. I think we're gonna make it well worth our effort, and I'm very grateful to be here with all of you. And this is among our most just favorite things that we do are these weeks. And so our team, myself, Simrit and her band, they're en route to their European tour, and they stopped in here first, so they'll be here shortly. We're set up, I think, to have a really tremendous time, and I'm ready to get started. First, we got some announcements to do, and I want to introduce you to the gentleman who largely runs this place, and whom I was here many years ago, maybe 2011, we think, for an event that was called In the Garden of the Medicine Buddha, and I fell in love with this place. And actually, even then, I had a videographer with me because I was so certain that I wanted to do an event here that in the garden over there, like 8 years ago or whatever, I filmed a little video talking about the immersion that we were going to have here. That video obviously never got used. But here we are, 2019, and perfect timing. And I met Michael here at that time, and he's been working. How long you been here?
The whole time, 17 years.
17 years, and he works closely with Bob Thurman and I'm sure Tibet House and everything that goes on here. So I want to introduce Michael Burbank and have him tell you a little bit about what you want to know about Menla while you're here in general, and anything else you got to say. All right, thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Jaidev. There's that. I never know where to sit for these things. I'm just going to sit. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to Menla. I'm assuming that 98% of you have never been here before. Has anyone been here before? Oh, fantastic. I'm like right on, 98%. So I'm here to welcome you on behalf of our staff here at Menla and at our headquarters in New York City, Tibet House. So I just wanted to share a few things with you to provide context for the deep inner work that you're going to do this weekend and week. So first, Tibet House was started in 1987 at the Dalai Lama's request by Bob Thurman and Richard Gere and Philip Glass and some other people who were filling a need, which was to help preserve Tibetan culture in exile. So most of you, because of the nature of the work that you do with Jaidev, you probably already know about Tibet. A lot of people still don't know what's up with Tibet, but they've been under ethnogenocide for 70 plus years, and it's not been easy. And yet the Dalai Lama really sets an example for all of us of how to deal with extreme adversity in not only a compassionate way, but pretty cheerful. So we do that. We present Tibetan culture, and we want people to fall in love with Tibet here and at Tibet House. That's our mission. So Menla was a gift for $1 17 years ago that just sort of dropped out of the sky and landed in the Thurman's lap. And I had the great privilege of being invited to come right out of college and help Bob mainly do a lot of the grunt work. And I did that for a long time and kind of just stuck around, and here I am as one of the two directors now, from dishwasher to director in 10 easy years. This valley and this mountain have been considered very sacred to the native people before the European invasion, and still to this day. The mountain is really unique. If you look at a map, like at the back of the front desk, if you didn't notice, I put a little thing so you can read about it. But we're sitting on top of one of the world's oldest meteor impact craters, which is about almost 2 miles below the surface of the Earth. So you can't actually see it, but everybody who comes here comments on the unusually strong energy here, and I think it has something to do maybe with the impact. What happened was roughly 375 million to 400 million years ago, give or take a million years, a meteor about half a mile wide crashed here. And this is when the Catskills were not a mountain, they were not mountains yet. They were actually the foothills of the biggest mountains in the world, the Acadia Mountains, which now no longer exist, which were taller than the Himalayas, apparently. So the Catskills were under a shallow sea, and this gigantic meteor crashed here, and the explosion was the equivalent of multiple atomic bombs or something really powerful like that. And it literally pulverized the bedrock. And then over millions of years, different layers of sediment were deposited on top of the crater, burying it. And yet, the circumference of the crater, you can see on a map because there are streams that flow around the mountain in almost a perfect circle. And that's how they discovered that it was not just a normal mountain formation. And then they did some drilling and found evidence of extraterrestrial minerals or something. And I always joke that it's in the water, so drink up. Actually, this is some of the cleanest water you can find in North America, and it comes from our sacred springs. So for millennia, the Catskills were always considered a very sacred place. They had giant hemlock trees that were apparently the average one. It took 12 people to hold hands to surround it. They were considered like the redwoods of the East. And unfortunately, the white man cut them all down for around the Civil War time. But the mountains are still considered very sacred, and they're among the oldest mountains in the world. And this valley was used for ceremony for countless generations, and we're absolutely delighted it didn't end up in the hands of somebody who built a mansion and just hogged the valley, and we're able to continue to have this kind of spiritual work and ceremony happen here. And so we are just totally delighted to have you take part in this. And I remember fondly that retreat with David Wolf, right? David Crow, not David Wolf. David Wolf is a different guy. So anyway, when the Dalai Lama came here, because of course this is technically his land and it belongs to the Tibetan people, he came to bless the land, and he slept up in the building we call Snow Lion, and he was found, so some of you are staying in room 3 in the quad. That's the room he slept in. And so Bob Thurman went to get him in the morning, bright and early, and His Holiness had a huge bowl of milk on the deck. And Bob said, Your Holiness, what's with the milk? And he said, oh, it's for your Naga. And so are any of you not familiar with Nagas? Okay, great, at least a few of you. I love talking about Nagas. Nagas are like the rough equivalent of dragons in the East, and particularly in the Himalayas, but they were never demonized as they were by the Catholic Church. Instead, they're seen as these immensely powerful beings who are very real and are like shapeshifters who can appear as humans, or more typically will appear as frogs or lizards or snakes, or appear in visions, which is actually the most common. And they're associated with mountains and watery places. And in the Buddhist tradition, of course, the whole transcendent wisdom literature comes from the Naga realm at the bottom of the Indian Ocean and was retrieved by Nagarjuna, the famous philosopher. So His Holiness said, you've got this big, huge Naga actually living here. And so Bob got all excited. He was like, I figured we had one. And he suggested that we do this, he asked the Dalai Lama if we could do this really wrathful sort of Naga pacification ritual. And His Holiness said, oh, no. This one's peaceful. You don't want to piss it off by doing a wrathful puja. So he prescribed a peaceful puja, which we've been doing every year. And he had us build a little shrine by the yoga studio, which is outside and it's hand carved. And that's where, if people are moved to do so, I recommend that you make offerings there. His Holiness did specify that he thought that the Naga's head was sort of down close to the pond and the body just extended up the whole stream to the source. And that's where elders gravitate, by the way, when they come here. They don't know any of this from different traditions, and they do their offerings and things up the way. One of the trails goes up that way. So during your free time, I really recommend you hit the trails, which I tend with volunteers every year. And that's like, I wish I could make it mandatory, but I can't. So instead, I'm strongly encouraging it. You'll kick yourselves for not having done it. You will have an experience if you go out into the woods for a while and listen. So anyway, those are some of the fun things. And I did want to actually say, about Menla's mission within Tibet House is to introduce Tibetan medicine and Tibetan healing sciences to the West. And so on our walls here and in the spa, you see a complete set of Tibetan medical paintings, which are pretty far out. Some of them are really, really far out. So you can check those out in your free time. So that's our submission. And, but like all things, Tibetans are very open to other cultures, and when they created their own medical system, they sent their best doctors to all the civilizations around them and to study the best of their medical traditions, and they synthesize it. So they're very interested in working with other holistic and Western paradigms, and that's what our long-term mission is, to really be a full-time healing center. And so we built our spa. That's the only building that wasn't here when we got here. And it's not a place to get your nails done. It's a place to go and get really deep healing treatments. And we offer Tibetan modalities that are being revived basically from extinction by a friend of ours named Dr. Nida, who's a Tibetan, who has trained our practitioners in the Kunye massage and related therapies. So that's my quick plug for our spa. I don't know how much free time you have, but appointments can be made at the spa. So those are kind of the fun things, and then I have a couple quick nuts and bolts to run through at the request of the staff. The first is a few of you have like a lot of food allergies, and if you find that you're one of those people who's announced your list of pretty intense food allergies and you get to the buffet and you don't see something that you can eat, please just come to the front desk and we'll have the kitchen bring out a plate for you specifically. But that would only apply to like 3 or 4 of you who really sort of problem cases for normal sort of mass cuisine. So please communicate that to the front desk. If you're parked in the small parking lot between Lhasa and Kathmandu, we ask, and I hope please try to remember this for after class because you're going to get swept up in an amazing class and probably forget. But if you could kindly park in one of the bigger lots. Our staff uses that lot to come in and out, and we do need pretty much all those spaces. So the smaller parking lot between the Lhasa Inn and the adjacent Kathmandu building, if you could just move to the bigger parking lot, we'd really appreciate it. The front desk is staffed from 7:30 in the morning until 11 at night. We do not have a night crew or a night manager. So if you need anything, please see our front desk during those hours. If you have an emergency after hours, and if it's a medical emergency, you're going to want to call 911 first. And then there's a number in the welcome letters in each of your rooms or buildings if you're in the shared houses that has a number for the caretaker who lives on site. And you can call the caretaker next and inform us. So that's a medical emergency, but you're not allowed to have an emergency, but if you have one, this is what to do. So then if it's a facilities emergency, if there's a flood or, God forbid, a fire, then you're going to want to call, if it's a fire, call 911. But if it's something that is not 911 worthy, then you can call the caretaker. But if it's something like replacing a light bulb or something that could be taken care of in the morning, we ask that you save it for the morning, please. And then bears. Yeah. Some of you saw our bears. We have really, really cute bears who share this valley with us. They're mainly interested in our compost, which we've electrified, but they're still managing to get an arm under and scoop some food. So we still have some bears around. Black bears evolved, unlike any other bear in the world, to flee instead of to fight. So they're actually really timid. They are totally non-aggressive. I have personally chased bears up and down this valley, mainly down the valley, trying to get them away when we have 100 people here, because they scare people, but they're really peaceful and very cute. And if we were allowed to, we would feed them, but we're not, so we don't. But if you see one, please don't panic. You really don't have anything to worry about. If you're afraid, it's good to face your fears, for one thing. And, but you really are not going to get attacked by a bear. So you consider it a blessing, which is how it really should be seen. And
Should we run from the bear?
no, basically you don't want to, I mean, it won't hurt. If you see a bear, generally I like to make sure it knows I'm there. So I'll talk to it. Some people like to sing, or, basically you just don't want to like scare a bear. You don't want to trigger a fight or flight response. It's going to flee, but, basically just work your way slowly to a place where you feel comfortable is really what to do. But you can get pretty close. But so anyway, I don't want anyone being afraid of bears while they're here. It's a total blessing. And I wanted to know if there were any questions about the facility or about our mission or about anything that I may have talked about before I hand it over. That's a leg, not a hand. There's a hand.
What is the best path to take to come back to the main area over there?
To the Lhasa Inn. The best way to get between here and the Lhasa Inn.
Yeah, especially when it's dark.
Okay, that's a good qualifier. So when it's dark, I would use the lower road. We have this gravel road that does a 1 mile loop around the property, and it wraps around the conference center here. And so if you take the external staircase just on the other side of that wall, it'll bring you right to the lower road, and that's sort of better lit than the upper road, which is also under a canopy of trees, whereas you get some moonlight on the lower road. If it's good weather and it's daytime, I recommend the middle way path, which avoids walking on a road and gives a sense of what it's like to be out on a real trail. That was the first trail we made.
Trailheads for the trails you're talking about.
So there's one down by the pond. You have to cross the stream, and we've had a bit of rain. So there are these like stones that are secure and well placed, and you ought to be able to cross the stream. So there's a trailhead for the Naga Trail down by the pond, and then that wraps up and back down sort of around in the back of the property and connects up with the Waterfall Medicine Trail, which has like 5 or 6 waterfalls along it when there's enough rain. And those are nice, easier for people who are like city dwellers and don't do hikes. When I say easy, some people complain that it was too hard, but that could be done in like 45 minutes, one of those loops. And then we have a more challenging trail for those of you who want a serious workout. That's the Meta Trail, the Loving Kindness Trail, which is pretty steep. And that's between Dragon and Garuda houses. And that does a loop and ends up at a lookout where you look at a partial view of the Eastern Catskills. And if we had the time, there's a secret trail that I made with some people that goes up to an unnamed peak that we call Menla Mountain. And one day we'll petition to get it renamed Menla Mountain. And that has like a 180-degree view of the Catskills. It's one of the best views you can find, and no tourists know about it.
How long for this one?
3.5 hours, and you need a guide. And you can't possibly get lost in the woods either. I will say, anywhere in the Catskills, if you get lost, just head downhill and follow the sound of water, and then follow the water, and you'll end up at someone's house. Any other questions? So I could talk all night, but I'd rather hand it over to you. I'm just so thrilled that you're here, and I know this is going to be an amazing 4 days for everyone already. Thank you very much.
I want to tell them about this.
One more thing before Michael takes off that I want to tell you about is this. Does anyone have this? I know I've shared it with some of you. This is called Man of Peace, and it's a graphic novel about the life of the Dalai Lama. And it's created by Robert Thurman and Michael Burbank. And it's an amazing piece of work. Take a look at it. It's in this book. I saw a lot of them in the bookstore up there. It's like a awesome comic book style, like with really beautiful art, and it's an incredible piece of work. And I saw it when I was here in 2011. There's like a manuscript version of it. And I kind of kept my eye on it, or I would get notifications from Tibet House that this was coming, and we made some donations to help, and I was super happy when it came out, and we have a copy at our home, and it's, anyhow, congratulations, and thank you. Didn't you present it to the Dalai Lama for his 80th birthday?
We were 2 years late.
2 years late, but
we got it to him in India at the Kala Chakra, and was seen by Nena Thurman right before the teaching, sort of flipping through it giddily, like really enjoying it. So he endorses it without formally endorsing it, because it tells that basically it's about the Dalai Lama's life story, but it's really the true story of the invasion of Tibet. And we don't pull any punches, whereas the Dalai Lama's got to be more politically sensitive about that whole thing.
what he says,
So
yeah.
we were able to pull it off as non-Dalai Lama people telling the story, but he secretly endorses it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would encourage everyone just to learn a little bit about like this place, and not just this place that we're at, but also Tibet House and the work that they do in their mission. And I know we all just got here, but consider, if you're not already, being a member of Tibet House to support the important work that they're doing, which is very much connected to all the work we're doing. I mention all the time, and I partly got these insights from listening to people like Bob, that even the yogic teachings that we are all practicing and using, we're very much in debt to the Tibetan people. When for many, really hundreds of years, where India was occupied by the British, and then before that, some other tyrannical empires, the deep tantric teachings of yoga were very well preserved in Tibet. And not only preserved, but explored deeper and evolved. And it's my sense, and that, and that's why all the time, I personally lean heavily on the teachings that have come from these great Tibetan masters, that in our recent history, the very deep, profound yogic teachings has been transmitted perhaps most clearly, or as clearly as anywhere else, by the Tibetan spiritual tradition. And so that's, in part why I'm so happy that we're here. And I just want to encourage everyone to kind of tune into that deeper thread of energy that this place, in part, is really helping to preserve, because now they're no longer able to be in what Bob calls those meditation laboratories up in the hills of Tibet, because they no longer have their homeland. And so anyhow, this is Man of Peace, and check it out. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for having us, Michael. Yeah. Okay, Satnam. Nice to see everybody. All right, I like to always do this when this is our first ever. We've been doing these immersions for many years. Probably almost close to 10 years in California, every year in June. And for several years, we did one in June and one in September in the same kind of Wednesday evening to Sunday format. And one of the reasons I really love them is because while it's not a tremendously long amount of time, Wednesday evening to a Sunday at lunchtime, I have found again and again, I'm hearing an echo of myself, so I'm stumbling over my words till I get used to it, that it's long enough to create some pretty serious transformation. to where we'll together be able to move through like a threshold and come out the other side. And that's an important thing to do from time to time, to do something that has the transformational force that's strong enough to recalibrate your whole system, to get deep inside of the organism and to come out the other side with a newfound clarity. So it's not just recalibration, like, back to where I was, but it is that, now the body remembers how to operate properly. That helps my vitality. Now the mind becomes very clear. That helps everything in my life. But then furthermore, their magnetism becomes even stronger, and that puts you in the flow of Dharma. And that is what we all depend on for our happiness and our fulfillment. While it may be currently relative happiness, that's our starting point. Is that I need my sense of contentment to not be resting upon the things in life that don't nurture contentment. I need my contentment to be resting upon the things that are non-changing in life. And so our primary discovery here is that. Because we can understand it very easily philosophically. Like many of us, if not all of us, we know that to be the case. But to actually have the conditions that are activated that makes that undeniably so is something altogether different. And so a Wednesday through Sunday, it's going to be great. And there might be times, moments, waves of the weekend that will be challenging. There may be moments where you'll feel emotional, but that could be not necessarily difficult emotion. It could also be very pleasurable emotion, like joy and laughter. But also it could be like anger and sadness and all of that. And all of that is very much welcomed here. And it's not a sign of anything, but you're just natural human being living the path of life. And as we're doing this work, it's strong. And so there may be a moment or some moments where you will hit a threshold moment, a threshold experience where you'll feel like maybe you want to scatter or flee. Well, just don't do that. Just stay around, because right on the other side of that is blissfulness, is amazing experiences. And anyhow, when we're on the West Coast, typically the majority, we get people from all over the planet. Who's ever been to one of our immersions in California? Okay, great. And who's here right now from outside of North America? Okay, great. New Caledonia, Matthew is here. Did you fly from New Caledonia? That's amazing, thank you. Where? Let's see, who else was it? Hawaii? What? Jamaica. Tina. And I know we have some sisters here from Belgium. Is that in the back? Belgium, is that it? Just Belgium? Not just Belgium, but there's 3 of you. All 3 from Belgium? Or 2? 2. Thank you for coming. And all right, so how many of you outside the United States? So what would that be? Canada. All right, Canada and Mexico. Canadians? Always the rowdy bunch. And all right, so okay, United States, but let's say like east of the Mississippi or west of the Mississippi. All right, good. And then United States. That I haven't called yet, not in New York. All right, so a lot of East Coast people, yeah? And New Yorkers? All right, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here. And you want to get started pretty soon? Are you digested yet? The first meal was good? You settled in your rooms yet? You brought a raincoat? All right. That's good for us. We don't get rain in California this time of year, so I was so proud of myself for bringing a raincoat and an umbrella. I brought even an umbrella. And forgot a whole bunch of other kind of more important stuff, like microphones. But we're good. We made it. We're here. We did it. And so also for the next couple of days, we have the good fortune of having Simrit here. It's on Friday morning. They fly out to Europe, but it was very kind of them to swing in here because it's a huge deal. Simrit, at this point, like she's like what it is, like a 14 city European tour. 30 days, and she really does it all, like booking, producing, everything, and she's a force. And so it's a tremendous amount of work just to do Europe, let alone swinging in here. Thank you. Yeah. All right, well do we want to do more announcements? No, we're good. Any crucial things? We can do them at the end, too. All right, great. No way.
Santi.
So, all right, let's tune in, yeah? Hey, here's a good question. Anyone never done Kundalini Yoga before? Ah, perfect. Welcome. Thanks for coming and being courageous. And all right, so if you're brand new Kundalini Yoga, don't worry. Here's an announcement I'll make. How about this? Tomorrow, all right, every morning, so because once we get going with the yoga stuff, we're going to travel, and it's going to be hard to come back into logistics. So tomorrow morning, sadhana, the early morning practice starts at 4:30 a.m. So at that time, the first thing that happens, we're going to be chanting a mantra. It's called Japji. It goes on for about 20, 30 minutes. If you're not familiar with it, it's no big deal. You can just meditate. You can lie down. You don't even have to be here. After that, we'll be doing yoga exercises. Yoga exercises will go on about a half hour or so. And so at that point, we're in the 5:25, 5:30 range. And then we start our meditation, and that'll go on for a little over an hour. And I'll explain the meditation in the morning. How about that? But these are some of the best moments of the whole time is in these early morning hours. But here's the thing, of course it's optional, but anything is optional. You don't have to come to any of it. But those, you can come at any time. You don't have to be here right at when it starts at the beginning. You can come later. You can even bring your sleeping bag in here and sleep during it. And that's fine. People do that because it's a beautiful energy in here and it's nice. You can do the yoga exercises, do as much as the meditation you want to, lie down, go to sleep, do everything. It's your choice. It's a beautiful experience in here in the mornings. And then after that, what time, there'll be a class in here, a yoga class after sadhana in the morning. And that yoga class starts at what time? 7 a.m. And it is specifically a yoga. Anybody can take it, especially say you didn't get here for the early morning practice, want to do some yoga before breakfast, great. But it's also designed for people who are new or new-ish to Kundalini Yoga, and is going to unpack some of the foundational stuff that I'll probably just skip over when I'm up here teaching. So that'll happen every single morning that we're here. We start 4:30 a.m. Then there's that class at 7 a.m. Breakfast is at 8 a.m. And then we're back in here 9 a.m. And then there'll be lunch, and then the lunch will be sometime, and then there'll be a break for lunch. You'll have a couple hours for lunchtime, hang out, walk some trails, and then we'll come back in here for the afternoon. We'll have dinner. Tomorrow night, they're going to play a concert after dinner. And so that's what the next 24 hours looks like, at least. Sound good? All right. Anything else crucial that I forgot? Let's roll. Inhale, please. Exhale. Close your eyes down and draw your inner gaze up and in between the two eyebrows. Inhale deep. Exhale. Inhale, please. Exhale. Satnam. All right, come on your hands and knees. And we're going to start cat-cow. Inhaling, the head is coming up. Exhaling. And beautiful Charlotte's up here. So if I'm not demonstrating the postures and you want some reference, well, there's lots of folks around, but Charlotte's up there. That she'll be there, or someone will be there all week long. Now, here's the thing. Just close your eyes down. Listen for a moment the sound of your breathing. And see if you can make some sort of a rhythm. See if you can feel as if you're using the posture, the exercise to make the spine nice and supple. See if you can use the breath to make the mind come into some sense of equanimity. That's what rhythm gets you. So if you merge into a rhythm, any rhythm is okay, and then you listen to the sound of your breathing, that'll encourage the mind into a space of equanimity. And eyes are closed down. And another 60 seconds. Now deepen the breathing, please. And for the first time ever, we got folks at home all over the world who are able to live stream our immersion. Folks at home, don't just watch. You should be cat-cowing. Cat-cowing. Keep up. Yeah, no rush. Now inhale deep, head is up. And draw the inner gaze, third eye. And exhale, head is down. Push all your breath out, and then pull your navel in towards the spine. And relax in child's pose. And relax your jaw, relax the mind as much as possible, and bring your palms together. That's called Guru Pranam. And bringing the head to the field of the earth, magnetic field of the earth, brings the forehead, pituitary, when it meets the field of the earth, it has a most desirable effect when the head goes below your heart. And that's why that bowing is considered. But bowing isn't worshiping of something, but rather it's can I become a vessel? Can I make the mind and body in the magnetic field ideal, a more ideal vehicle for the love, energy, the intelligence that has created all of this? Whatever that mysterious thing is, can I make myself a vessel for that? And it gives us a moment to connect deep down also onto the earth and to meditate for a moment on where are we? And who were the peoples here who lived here for thousands of years before even any settlers came? And what is the spirit of those people? And we ask for permission to practice here on this land, in this space. And then the entire lineage that has created and generated this space and the beauty that we're very fortunate and privileged to practice within. And we give thanks for this opportunity, and may we leave this place even better than when we arrived. And may anything that we gain from being here, we also give back to others. And that's our intent. Beautiful. Let's go. Please come sitting up on your heels. And you're going to be like hands on your lap, chest lifted, chin in, and spinal flexes. Inhaling, lifting through the chest, and exhaling back. Eyes closed down, and the third eye gaze.
Wakam Jilana
deep inhale. And rectum, sex organ, navel, up and in. And then draw your awareness in between the two eyebrows in the third eye space. Exhale. Beautiful. Come back, easy pose. And then bring your hands up to your shoulders. Root lock is in. Perineum lifted up and in. Heart wide open. Meditative gaze. Inhale left. Exhale right. To the center, inhale, root lock in, third eye gaze, and now go stillness. Exhale, hands to your knees, chest lifted up, chin is in. Up, inhale. Exhale. Now check this out. Hands into prayer pose. Yeah, like that. And that means the knuckles of your thumbs go right into the sternum. And that little place, it looks like it was created for the purpose. And now chest is lifted and shoulders are dropped. It's a prayer pose because there's two polarities. There's a negatively charged life force, there's positively charged life force, there's the feminine force, there's the masculine force, and you got both. But the more that those two can neutralize, the more the mind will be able to stabilize into its meditative capacity, which is the true gem of the human being, the meditative mind. And the prayer becomes effective when the projection comes through the meditative mind. Is projected through your meditative mind. So there's a reason we do certain things, isn't there? Pressure the palms a little bit. Chest lifted, chin is in, shoulders drop. Now deep inhale. And breath of 5. Ladies, if you're on your moon or pregnant, do long, deep breaths instead of breath of fire. 20 seconds. Meditate, third eye gaze. Inhale deep. Press the palms powerfully. Now lift up rectum, sex organ, navel. Open the chest wide, release the shoulders, and then go into stillness. It's a suspension of the psyche, stillness. And now through your rounded mouth like a cannon, exhale. Inhale deep. Root lock is in. Press the palms powerfully, and then suspend the psyche, stillness. Like a cannon, exhale. Inhale deep. Root lock in, squeeze the spine, press the palms powerfully. And fire out. Beautiful. Good, raise your arms up. Inhale, stretch up. Now fingers are tight. Release your shoulder blades down the back. Lift through your root lock, rectum, sex organ, navel. Close your eyes down. Release the shoulder blades down the back. Make your fingers tight like steel. Touch the ceiling. Release the shoulder blades down the back. Lift up through the mulaband and then touch the ceiling. Draw your gaze up. Inhale. Hold the posture, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now inhale. And then vigorously shake the arms. Powerfully shake the arms. Exhale, keep shaking. Deep inhale, keep shaking. Faster. Exhale, relax. Very nice. All right, beautiful. Come standing up. And you want to stagger yourself on the mat. So that means one person's at the front of their mat, and then the next person's at the back of their mat. And then you're going to stretch. Can they see you? I don't know. Legs stretched out. Like this. Like this. Inhale here. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Legs are strong, fingers tight. Relax, exhale. Beautiful. Now come sitting back, easy pose. Okay, how are we doing so far? Okay? All right. So here's what's gonna go on. Did you guys want? You're gonna be, we'll keep this rolling. So what you're gonna be doing is the gaze will be tip of your nose. So you know the tip of the nose? Just tip of your nose. If you are new to it, it takes a little work, but you'll learn it. You'll look at your index finger and touch your nose and watch your index finger. Everyone try it? Everybody want to try it? See what we look like on the live stream? Let's go. All right, there it is. Tip of the nose gaze. It puts a pressure on your pituitary gland, frontal cortex. The challenge of the species right now is really the frontal cortex. And that's not the challenge. That's what we need. Is the evolutionary part of the human species to be more activated and more human beings. There's too much energy in the reptilian part of the psyche, and therefore we get animalistic tendencies that are governing the planet. And so therefore, what does that look like? It looks like a bunch of adult bodies with adolescent emotional maturity, at best. And so when the energy is brought into the frontal lobe, pituitary gland, and what the yogis call Ajna chakra. Ajna means command. And what that infers, it's designed to be the commanding center of the human organism. This is very simple. It's not difficult. It's difficult to be, at first, to have consistency in a practice, but even then, eventually, that's not difficult. It's very simple, you know what I'm saying? How do we generate the conditions for ourselves that will give us the best opportunity possible to love and to live through compassion? That's all we're here to do. And so when you are nurtured at that frontal lobe, frontal cortex, pituitary, ajna chakra, it causes the mind to operate more intuitively. And when the psyche starts to operate more intuitively, it becomes less emotionally reactive. When it becomes less emotionally reactive, we are now have some sort of a environment that allows us to enjoy our lives more. When we enjoy our lives more, we're less prone to try to have to control others in an attempt to enjoy our lives. Does that make sense? We are less prone for the life force to go outside of ourselves to try to find some sort of contentment. Now, all of a sudden, we have the possibilities of more harmonious way of living together. And it's not certain that we're going to make it through this thing. And if we were to say it's certain as a species that we're going to make it through this thing, I feel like maybe we're not quite living in reality. Is that it's very likely that the coming years ahead are going to provide us with some tremendous difficulty, challenges, and perhaps great pain. And so the question we have for ourselves is, am I in a position where I can navigate that in a way that is going to be healthy? Am I solid enough in my sense of love, in my sense of my sense of inner confidence? And can I find joy in my life even when things are really, really difficult? Because that's the thing about real joy, is that it's not dependent on pleasure. The tendency of the mind is to go after pleasure when it's at its when the life force is more predominantly constricted in the lower triangle, that'll keep me more animalistic tendency. You following so far? So when that is the condition and the environment that I'm operating from, then the mind's tendency is going to do one of two things. It's going to pursue pleasure, or it's going to avoid pain. It's going to attempt to find pleasure, and it's going to attempt to avoid pain. And that's the conditions of suffering. And so therefore, there's something more subtle that I'm after, that you and I as human beings are after. Joy isn't dependent on the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. It's dependent on blissfulness. And blissfulness is quite subtle. And it's in the between. And that's what the yogi is all about. That's what all of this is all about. That was the rare double water bottle drop. How do I generate the conditions for myself that allows me to live my life predominantly from that space? Did I say exclusively from that space? Nah. You have to leave room to be human, so that when I freak out and have a burst of anger, or find myself in depression, or find myself in anxiousness, that I'm not identifying that as something that's outside of normal human life. I need to be able to love myself as much when I'm acting a fool, as we say in my household, as when I'm acting blissful and experiencing blissfulness. But sometimes we, as yogis and people that are very determined for self-growth, is that because we don't leave room for some of that, I think the reason why we often don't leave room for some of that is we feel like, well, if I accept that, then I'm going to give myself permission to act like that more often. When I found the opposite is true. Love yourself even more at that time. And it will take some of the electricity away from it. Because anything that you don't want, and then you try to push it away from you, that thing will spring back at you with more force. You see what I mean? So if I have some emotions that we feel is a non-desirable emotion, and I'm like, that thing, whether right then or later, like a shook up soda bottle, is gonna spring back at me with more force. How do you metabolize emotion? You have to emote a little bit. How do you metabolize a feeling? You have to feel. So if I feel angry, most of the time the reason we do bursts of anger is because we haven't done a good job of actually feeling throughout the course of a lifetime. And so then within the subconscious, there's all this built up energy, and eventually you're gonna be under enough stress where you're no longer gonna be able to hold it together. And it's gonna be like, anyone ever had one of those experiences? Two of us, we should talk later. So, we'll have like a little support group. So, you know what I'm saying? Well, some of this is because we're likely to at moments feel like a shook up soda bottle. And that's not a sign that you're not doing a good job, or you're not progressing really well with this stuff. The measuring stick to me is all right, am I more in love right now than I was this time a year ago? How about even a few months ago? I try not to measure too much less than a few months. You know what I'm saying? Because you have transits and all sorts of things that are going on. Certainly I'm not going to measure in the course of a week. What's the measuring stick? It's not like the visualizations and like, oh, I saw, Lord Buddha and these types of things. That's beautiful. Those can be like significant in certain contexts. But often when people are talking about like fantastic visions and this and that, it's what my teacher called glitter at the bottom of the ladder. Because sometimes what happens when the Kundalini starts to move, then a lot of that stuff will start to take place. But what we're trying to do ultimately is to stabilize love and stabilize a condition of sweetness and kindness and content for the human vehicle. Because what the human vehicle is more than anything else is it's a psyche. Everything is the psyche. That's why it's tremendous to come to a place like this, because you can feel the psyche of the land is absolutely in support of the work that we're wanting to do here. Can you feel that? And so everything is the psyche. This stage has a psyche in a certain sense. It has an energy. And so the whole body, what we call the mind, the magnetic field, all of it is like a vibrating biomagnetic psyche. And so how do I stabilize a contentment? How do I gain relatively stable contentment? That's a good thing to try to pursue. And then to measure it over longer arcs of time. You know what I did? On my drive from Albany Airport to here, something I do usually once a year. I have those recordings called A Call to Conscience they call the landmark speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I just like to hear the nod in his voice. And the most hypnotic sound, when you hear him orating something. He always said the arc, the moral arc, how does he say that? The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards truth, bends towards goodness. And so getting these, can I have a bigger lens in which I'm looking at things? And not so narrow in the sense that I'm so caught up in my own day in and day out neuroses, I have a difficult time gaining a bigger perspective on what is going on here. And so that's what this ajna is about. That's what this frontal lobe is about, to give a bigger lens to which I can perceive life in the state of my life, but also what am I doing? And what is happening here? Because if my context for how I perceive myself is very narrow, then the context and how I perceive life will also be narrow. It all grows and is born out of how do I perceive myself and what this myself is. And so that's why sometimes you come to something like this and perception of myself gets shook in a good way. And then once that perception of self is shaken a bit, then the negative emotions that flow out of that perception of self lose their foundation. Making sense? And now we're getting into the root of things, a sense of what I am, what you are. That's why the mantra is good. Aganjala name samastal nivase. Aganjal, I said it right? Aganjal name. Name, there's I bow is how we usually translate it, but we don't bow so much in the Western part of the world, do we? Yeah, so Simrits translate it more like salutations, so I pay homage, how I think of it when we say Namo or Ad Gure Name or Om Namo, Gurudev Namo, typically you often see those words translated as I bow. How about this? I'm endeavoring to make myself a vehicle for, because that's ultimately what a bowing process is. beyond the technology of taking the Ajna Chakra down to the magnetic field of the earth, is if what I'm trying to do is to make myself a good vessel, a Ganjala Name, Samastul Nivase. I salutations. So I'm like greeting. I'm acknowledging that there's a bigger energy that is going on here that is beyond the comprehension of my mind, my normal thinking mind. There's something else happening here. There's something else that has drawn us all here together into this space and all over the world at this moment in time. And it's not just by chance, I don't think. There's some destiny that draws us into a moment like such as this. So I'm acknowledging that there's something else going on here, the great mysteriousness, love. That energy that has no particular name, that is by definition invincible, indestructible. Everything else is destructible. Your body, vehicle, this thing, destructible. One day, it'll be done for. Ganjala Name Samasto Nevase. And that energy, of which we could simply call love, lives in the center, vibrates in the center of all beings. All beings. Our job, my job, your job, is to uncover that within the nucleus of your own being. And that's why tip of the nose gaze. All right, ready? So here's what's gonna happen like this. All right, eyes down, tip of the nose gaze. And you're gonna be an O-shaped mouth. So all three exercises, it's a breath like this. Like, but it's not a cheek breath, it's not a cannon breath like a, where the cheeks is coming more from the chest, okay? Throat and chest. Now here's what it is. Your hands are out like this, chest is out, chin is in, tip of the nose gaze. That's the rhythm, like. And that, check it out. Keep going, keep going. You're gonna twist the hands back and forth. When the hands twist towards you, they close into fists. And they twist away from you, they open up. So it's like. Now let's go with some energy, yeah. Like that. Tip of the nose is the gaze. Seconds, go. fist tight. Now squeeze the spine, liver rectum, sex organ, navel up and in. Now squeeze the energy into the center of the body, center of every cell, tight. Now like a cannon through the mouth, exhale. Deeper, inhale through the mouth. Make the fist. Now root lock, rectum, sex organ, navel. Spine is squeezing. All the fiber of the body tight. Tight. The entire fabric of the body. Squeeze. Exhale. Last time, inhale deep. Squeeze deep. So it shakes you. Squeeze. Tight. 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 Fire out. Meditate, relax. Exercise, same gaze, tip of your nose, and then same breath. And it'll be like this. You're gonna lead with the heel of your palm, and you're gonna, as if you're pushing something away from you. What ought you push away from you? Things that are not serving you. Habits, tendencies. Seconds, powerful. Left arm out, inhale. Make our hands into like claws. Squeeze a root lock and make the body tight and tighten the spine. And then exhale. Now switch, inhale. Root lock is in. Compress, tighten. Exhale. One more inhale, switch. Tight, tight. Exhale. Relax. Beautiful. All right, last one. After this one, you're gonna come onto your backs and relax. So whatever you got. Tip of the nose gaze, same O shape, chest breath. Hands are the The fingers aren't touching and yet they're also not tight. Elbows are slightly bent. Tip of the nose, and it'd be a backward circles like. You're like a whole generator energy. Open the whole spinal center at the height of the heart chakra. Tip of the nose, 10 seconds. Mouth inhale, fingers tight, squeeze the spine, body, root lock. Now stretch your tongue out as far as it'll go. Stretch the tongue, open the mouth so you can stretch the tongue, stretch, and like a exhale. Nice. Now 2 more, inhale deep, and squeeze deep, stretch the tongue out, stretch, fingers tight, spine tight, exhale. Again, inhale deeper. Fingers tight. Spine. Root lock. Stretch the tongue. Stretch the tongue. Stretch the tongue. Exhale. And relax. Come onto your backs. Relax. All the way, let the arms out, some, the legs out, relax the jaw, relax your tongue, and just let go. It's like you've done everything. Allow yourself just to melt into the magnetic field of the earth. exhale. Move the fingers, move the toes. Rotate the wrists, ankles. And rub the palms. And rub the soles of the feet. Make some heat. And then cat stretch each side. And hug the knees into the chest. And rock and roll a few times. And then come on up. Okay. So this meditation is very beautiful. And a little bit difficult, but not too much. Just do your best, yeah? Now what you're going to do is this. Your right hand is above your left hand, like 6 inches or so. And important that your core is engaged, your heart lifted up, shoulders are dropped, and the chin is slightly in. And your fingers are made to be very tense. You're creating a magnetic field between the two hands, and you don't want that force to be broken throughout the meditation. So you're like that. Try it. Good? Got it. All right, chest is out. Root lock is in, because you need to balance. If it's just this up here, it's going to put a lot of the energy and pressure on your shoulders and arms. But if you have a core muscles engaged, then you lift through your chest and release the shoulder blades down the back. You'll find a different type of balance, and it'll make the thing work a little better. Okay, now eyes are going to be closed, and the fingers are firm. And you're going to take a deep inhalation through the mouth, like you're drinking the breath. And then you're going to exhale through the nose. And we've begun. Inhaling through the mouth. Exhaling through the nose. And keep up. Look like a carved yogi, like a statue. Like some sort of beautiful deity, goddess or god. Drink like you're kissing the breath. It has a love. This meditation will renew you. It's a remedy for tired minds, tired bodies. Rebuilding yourself. Breath by breath, reconstitute yourself. Forget about your surroundings. Concentrate on the breath. Drink the prana. The posture will guide the power of the tattvas, the earth, water, fire, air, and space. And the breath will guide your life force. Concentrate and give your glandular system a new working order. After several minutes in, you'll become upset because the body won't be in a position to handle the energy that you're creating. At that time, you must renew the concentration, deepen the breath even the more, and keep up. If you breathe with full strength, it will try to hit your hidden dis-ease and eliminate it. Join your energy with the source of your energy. And keep going. Fingers firm, elbows at the height of the hands, chest is out. Hands are at the height of your shoulders. Root lock is engaged. Now drink the prana. Gaze the third eye and go through it.
deepen your concentration. Now deepen your breathing. Meditative gaze. Lock into it. "60 seconds. Hold the posture, inhale, and squeeze your spine. Hold the posture, exhale. Inhale again. Squeeze the elbows into the position. Exhale, inhale deep, lift the chest, now tuck the chin and make the muscles of the back of the neck tight, lift the root lock, squeeze the elbows into the position. Exhale, relax, meditate. For just a few moments, do not budge. as a purpose. And set your intent for your time here. And give your prayer. And think of your families, wherever they may be, your loved ones, and all the peoples of the planets, all the being on the planet who are suffering. Give your prayer.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you. Guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you. Guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way
Satnam. So that was a good start. Well, this is once again Menla Mountain Retreat, and you're on planet Earth, state of New York. Hold on that, please. So tomorrow morning we start at what time again? 4:30. You can come whenever though. And yeah, thank you again for being here. And I want to thank our team as well, because it took a lot of work to make this happen, and they did a phenomenal job. And you'll meet them all tomorrow morning. And I just wanted to extend that out tonight, because to just get this thing flying, which it feels like we're kind of now, we're not up at 30,000 feet yet, but we're getting close. And it was a big effort. So thank you to everybody. And we'll all have a great day tomorrow. But tonight, there's a chance you may not sleep. If that's the case, the crickets are beautiful. And you go outside and just like listen and enjoy. And there's a chance you may not sleep a whole lot this week, but that's all right. Sleep will be great when you get home. And see you early tomorrow morning. Have a beautiful night, and looking forward to meeting and hanging out with everybody. Satnam. All right. Okay, yeah, and please take your stuff, because every night we'll want to like sweep and clear the space and make sure everything stays clean and nice. So at the end of the night, every night, take all your stuff. All right, any other announcements that are crucial before we go to bed? Satnam. All right.